The night he swore to forget his past was the same night it came for him. The restaurant was supposed to be safe, warm lights, soft music, the promise of peace wrapped in the scent of coffee and rain. But as black cars slid silently to a stop outside and strangers in dark coats stepped through the door, Adrian Vale realized the truth. You can build an empire to bury your secrets, but some secrets dig their way back. They weren't here for his money. They weren't here for his name. They were here for her, and for the version of him he'd spent 10 years pretending he'd never been. And as she whispered, "If they find me, they'll find you too," the storm outside finally broke, and so did the life he tried to live. The past had found him, and this time it wanted everything. Before diving into the gripping details of this story, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more thrilling stories. People whispered about him like he was a myth. A ghost in polished shoes and tailored suits, a man born out of fortune and loneliness in equal measure. Adrian Vale could buy galaxies and yet never seemed to want anything, until he wanted her. It began in the small, amber-lit restaurant tucked between glass skyscrapers and shadowed alleyways. He had stepped inside once by accident, searching for quiet. She was already there, laughing softly, her fingers wrapped around a chipped coffee cup like it was the most precious thing in the world. She never noticed him, not really. She didn't gasp at his presence or freeze like people usually did. She just kept talking to the waiter about music, about the rain, about life like she lived it with both hands open. And for the first time in a decade, Adrian listened. He came back the next day. And the next. He sat at the same corner table, always a few seats away, always pretending to read, always unable to stop watching her live in a world that wasn't gilded, wasn't weaponized by wealth. She was warmth, and he had been ice for so long that she hurt to look at. Then one day she simply stopped coming. For weeks, her chair stayed empty. The chipped coffee cup remained untouched on its shelf. The restaurant felt colder, louder, unbearable. People chattered, clinked their glasses, breathed too loudly. Without her, the place lost gravity. He asked the staff. No one knew where she had gone. A ghost of laughter erased. Something inside him burned. So he did what he had always done when fear clawed at him. He used power. He bought the restaurant. The papers went wild. Staff whispered. The world assumed he was expanding an empire. No one understood that the billionaire didn't want the building or the brand or the profit. He wanted the chair. He wanted the chipped cup. He wanted the tiny chance that she might walk through those doors again. Every evening he sat there, a king at an empty throne of hope. For the first time, he learned patience. He memorized the scent of roasted coffee, the scratch of old record music, the way rain streaked the windows exactly the way it had the first time he saw her. Weeks passed. The months. And then, she returned. The bell above the door chimed, and there she was, hair damp from rain, the same hesitant smile, but now threaded with exhaustion. She froze when she saw him. Of course she knew him. Everyone knew him. But her eyes didn't widen with awe or greed. They widened with fear. "Why are you here?" she whispered. He stood slowly, heart pounding with something that wasn't business, wasn't strategy. It was a boy's heart in a man's chest. "I never left," he answered softly. "I bought this place, just to sit where you were." Silence. Then tears shimmered in her eyes. Not sweetness, not romance, but heartbreak. "You shouldn't have done that," she breathed. "You really shouldn't have." The room seemed to tilt. He suddenly understood, this wasn't a fairy tale moment. Something was wrong. Something bigger than wealth, bigger than fate. "Why?" he asked, his voice barely there. Her lips trembled. "Because if they find me here, they'll find you too." The restaurant lights flickered. Outside, black cars rolled to a stop. And the door handle began to turn. The bell chimed again, not sweetly this time, but like a warning. The waiters froze. Conversations faded into a trembling hush. Even the rain outside seemed to pause against the glass. Adrian's gaze flicked to the windows. Sleek black silhouettes stepped out of the cars, their reflections stretching long and sharp in the puddles. Men in dark coats. Moving with purpose. With familiarity. With danger. He turned back to her. "Who are they?" he asked, his voice low but steady. Years of boardroom wars had trained him for crisis. But nothing had ever mattered like this moment. She shook her head, tears slipping down, uninvited and furious. "You shouldn't be here. You shouldn't even remember me." "But I do," he said softly. "I couldn't forget you if I tried." Her jaw clenched, as if his tenderness hurt worse than the threat outside. "Adrian, everything about me is a lie. That night you saw me laughing? It was the last night I owned my life. After that..." The door burst open. Cold air surged inside as 3 men stepped in. Not thugs. Professionals. The kind with calm eyes and careful hands. The tallest scanned the restaurant and locked onto her in seconds. "There you are," he said. She flinched. Adrian stepped in front of her. The man's eyebrow lifted, amused. "Move. This doesn't concern you." "It does now," Adrian replied, voice like steel wrapped in velvet. "You're in my restaurant. She's under my roof." "Your restaurant?" the man echoed slowly. Recognition dawned. His smirk faded. Him. Her fingers gripped Adrian's sleeve desperately. "Please don't make this worse." "Tell me what you're running from," Adrian murmured without turning. "Tell me who's trying to take you away from me." Her voice cracked. "From everyone. I saw something. Something I shouldn't have. And they made me disappear. I was supposed to stay gone." "And you came back," Adrian said. She swallowed. "I came back because I wanted to see you one more time." "Stupid, right?" She laughed through tears. "I wanted to remember what hope felt like before they erased me again." The leader took a step forward. "Enough." Adrian moved closer to her instead. "Then I'm not letting them take you." He didn't raise his voice. He didn't shout. But there was danger in his calm, the kind of danger that came from a man who had erased empires with a signature. The room held its breath. The man in the coat smiled, not kind, not cruel. Just deliberate. "You think money protects you?" he asked softly. "You think walls, contracts, ownership matter here?" His hand slipped into his coat. Half the room gasped. Adrian tightened his hold on her hand without looking away from the man's eyes. "Try," he said. "Just try." A sound shattered the air. Not a gunshot. A scream. From the kitchen. Someone crashed into a table. Glass shattered. Another scream. The lights flickered overhead again, then went out completely. Darkness swallowed the restaurant. Her fingers ripped from Adrian's hand. "And oh," he shouted. But it was too late. Bodies moved in the dark. Chairs scraped. Boots pounded. Something metallic hit the floor. Someone grabbed his shoulder, then let go like they'd touched fire when he lashed out. Rain thundered louder, like the sky was panicking too. The lights snapped back on. She was gone. The black cars outside were gone. The men in coats? Gone. Only the chipped coffee cup remained on the table. Still warm. And beside it, folded once, was a note. "Welcome back, subject 01. He closed his eyes. He remembered that voice. He remembered everything it meant. The elevator stopped. The doors opened. And standing there in the dim, sterile glow was a figure he never thought he would see again. Someone who was supposed to be dead. Someone who once trained him. Someone who once betrayed him. They smiled. "Hello, Adrian," they said softly. Or should I say, "Welcome home." The storm roared above. Far away, she screamed his name. And somewhere between the past he buried and the future racing toward him, everything he ever was, and everything he swore he'd never be again, collided. Adrian froze. The figure in the dim glow wasn't just familiar. It was impossible. Years of carefully constructed lies and erased memories screamed at him to step back. But he didn't. He never stepped back. "Who?" he breathed, voice low, dangerous, reverent all at once. "You're alive," the figure finished for him, their smile cold but knowing. "And I've been waiting. Waiting for you to remember. Waiting for you to come home." Adrian's mind raced. Every suppressed memory clawed its way to the surface. The vault, the training, the missions he had buried under billions and boardrooms. The weapons. The disappearances. The lies he had lived. The life he had erased. You weren't supposed to find me, he said. His fists clenched. No one is supposed to. Supposed to find me? They interrupted, stepping closer. Adrian, you think this is about her? You think this is about some woman you can't forget? Their eyes flicked toward the small steel door at the far end of the chamber, the one that pulsed with ominous red light. She's the key. You always knew it. And now, she's trapped. Because of you. Adrian's jaw tightened. Her face, her voice, flashed before his eyes. The chipped coffee cup. Her terrified whisper. Don't follow me. She's not just trapped, the figure said, voice dropping to a whisper that made the air around him hum. She's a beacon. A signal. And if you go after her unprepared, you'll destroy everything you've built, including yourself. Adrian's pulse thundered. His mind calculated. His instinct screamed. But there was no hesitation. I don't care what I have to do, he said. I don't care what I have to become. I'm not letting them take her. Not again. The figure smiled, almost sad, almost cruel. But then you'll need to remember who you truly are. Who you've been hiding from, even from yourself. But know this, Adrian, some doors, once opened, can never be closed. A sudden alarm blared, red lights bathing the chamber. The vault shuddered. Heavy metal doors began sliding open, revealing a stairwell spiraling down into darkness below. Adrian's figure moved forward, a mix of shadow and purpose. Follow me, the figure said, stepping into the stairwell. If you want her alive, you'll have to face everything you've buried. Your past, your enemies, and what you've done to survive. Before he could respond, the voice on his earpiece, her voice, whispered again. Hurry. He sprinted forward, descending into darkness. And at the very bottom, beyond the shadows, beyond the fear, he saw her. Bound, bruised, but alive. And behind her, the faint glow of the pulse he recognized instantly. The technology, the control, the weaponized secrets of the vault. Adrian stopped. One step closer. One step too far. And a voice echoed from the shadows, calm, deliberate, terrifying. Welcome, Adrian. You finally remember, but the question is, can you save her before remembering destroys you both? Lightning flashed, illuminating the scene. And in that moment, everything he had built, everything he had erased, and everything he had loved collided. The world seemed to hold its breath. And then footsteps. Many footsteps. Coming from behind him. The doors to the stairwell slammed shut. He wasn't alone anymore. The countdown had begun. Adrian's chest heaved. The echoes of footsteps multiplied in the cavernous chamber, each step deliberate, each step a threat. The vault, once a tomb of secrets, now felt alive, hungry. He glanced at her. Her eyes were wide, fierce, and terrified all at once. She saw him, and for a brief instant, hope flared in the darkness. Do something, she gasped. He didn't answer. He couldn't. Not yet. His mind raced through every memory, every skill, every instinct buried beneath a decade of billion-dollar lies. Every suppressed training exercise, every coded maneuver, they were all coming back, flooding him. He was no longer the billionaire who bought restaurants. He was the weapon they'd created, refined, and buried. The figure from the shadows stepped closer, their calm menace unshaken. You can't save her. Not without paying the price. Adrian's eyes narrowed. I've been paying prices my whole life. But this one, I'll make it count. He lunged. Movement precise, almost mechanical, honed through years of hidden training. The figure dodged, countered, but Adrian was relentless, fueled by something far stronger than fear or survival. It was love, pure, desperate, unyielding. Behind him, she strained against her restraints. The bindings weren't designed to hold someone like her, not for long. She twisted free, stumbling but determined. The two of them, her fire and his steel, moved in tandem, instinctively knowing they had one shot. Then the vault's central chamber pulsed red, a low hum escalating into a scream of energy. The system recognized them both as threats. The walls began to shift. Automated defenses activated. Laser grids ignited across the floor. Adrian grabbed her hand. Run! They sprinted, ducking beams of red light, sliding under closing metal doors. The figure from the shadows followed, relentless, every step closer. Finally, they reached the heart of the vault, the control room. Panels and screens flickered with ominous data, and in the center, a containment pod holding a glowing device pulsing in sync with her heartbeat. "They're using you," Adrian whispered, his hand gripping the controls. "If I can disable this, we can escape, but it might trigger a cascade." She shook her head. "Do it. I trust you." Every ounce of his power, every skill buried under years of concealment, surged. He bypassed security protocols, shattered containment seals, and ripped the device free. Energy screamed, alarms blared, the entire facility shuddered. The figure lunged one final time. Adrian spun, delivering a precise strike that sent them crashing into the control panel. They groaned, alive but incapacitated. "Go!" he shouted. They ran as the vault began collapsing, corridors folding like paper. Flames and sparks painted the walls in violent orange and red. Steel screamed. Concrete cracked. The pulse of the stolen technology threatened to implode everything. Adrian and she burst through the final doors just as the surface opened to the storm above. Rain battered them, lightning illuminating their faces, wet, battered, alive. Behind them, the vault imploded, a buried world of secrets swallowed by fire and water. She clung to him, trembling. "You saved me." He held her close, every ounce of tension melting. "No," he said, voice low but certain. "We saved each other." Thunder rumbled, and the storm began to ease. The city stretched out around them, lights flickering, oblivious to the battle that had just ended beneath their feet. For a moment, nothing existed but the two of them. Then, far off in the distance, a whisper of movement caught his ear. He tensed, scanning the shadows. A single figure emerged from the rain. Smiling, and unmistakably alive. "Congratulations, Adrian," the voice said, chilling in its serenity. "You've passed the first test. But the real game is only beginning." Lightning split the sky. She gasped. "Who is that?" Adrian's jaw tightened. "Someone from my past, someone I thought I buried forever." The rain fell harder, the storm renewed. And somewhere in the chaos, the city seemed to hold its breath. Because the war wasn't over. It had only just begun. Weeks passed. The story of the underground collapse flooded the news, spun into a tale of infrastructure failure, geological shifts, anything but the truth. The world kept turning. People kept living. But Adrian Vale didn't return to his old life. Not really. He rebuilt the restaurant first. Not because he needed another business. Not because it looked good in the press. But because it was the only place in the world where he remembered feeling human. Soft amber lights glowed again. The chipped cup was placed gently back on its shelf. The staff returned, whispering their gratitude, never knowing the weight the walls held. Some nights, the billionaire sat at their table, fingers wrapped around a warm cup, eyes distant but alive. The shadow of the man he used to be lingered, but the warmth of who he was becoming burned brighter. And she was there, laughing again, softer this time, like someone who had survived a storm and learned to breathe in the quiet afterward. She wasn't running anymore. He wouldn't let her. They didn't talk much about the vault, or the past, or the shadow watching them from afar. But sometimes, when the city fell silent and the night leaned close, she caught him staring at the window like it still hid ghosts. "Do you think it's over?" she asked once, her voice barely louder than a breath. He looked at her, and his smile was fragile but real. "No," he said honestly, "but for the first time, I'm not facing it alone." She slid her hand into his, and the world felt survivable. Outside, the city lights flickered. Somewhere far away, unseen forces shifted. Plans were being made. Names whispered. Lines drawn. War was inevitable. But so was love. And sometimes, love is the strongest weapon of all. The storm would come again. And when it did, Adrian Vale would be ready. Because this time, he wasn't fighting for power. He was fighting for her. And this time, he refused to lose.